Shalom and welcome to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, the Reverend Rabbi Eric Walker, and I am pleased to share with you that the Codist is back in print. The second edition is available both in Kindle and paperback on Amazon for those of you that are looking for this biblical thriller on the weaponization of DNA and how Satan will use it to kill out the Levitical line of the Jews to keep Jesus from coming back. An amazing story, a biblical thriller, 5-star reviews all over the place. Get your copy on Amazon. And, of course, my newest book, Lessons Learned, 7 Laws of Abundant Living, Lessons Learned from the Tree of Life. Very happy to share this with you. Go to our webpage, scroll to the bottom of the page, give us your email address. We'll give you the first chapter for free, and you'll want to buy the book. This morning we are talking to Annahita Parsan, author of Stranger No More, a Muslim refugee story of a harrowing escape, miraculous rescue, and the quiet call of Jesus. This is just an absolute incredible story, and I am thrilled to share it with you as we talk with Annahita. Welcome to our program, and to Roxanne, her daughter, who joins her to talk about this amazing story. Now, to give a little bit of background about Annahita, you escaped from Iran. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you literally crawled your way, fought your way, and now you're in Sweden.
Yes. I was Muslim, and I be a Christian. It was not a very short way. It was a long way from Iran to Sweden. And it was about 33 years ago when I come out from Iran. And it happened in the way from that way for me. If I beginning in my life, I was Muslim, and I grew up in a family. They are Muslim, and they was the tradition family.
So
my English is not very good. I try.
Listen,
Sorry.
Your English is much better than my Farsi. So feel fine. You're doing very, very well. So you grew up in a traditional Shiite.
Shia Muslim.
Yes,
Yes.
Shiite Muslim.
Shia Muslim. I'm from Isfahan, a city in Iran. And I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters. When I was very young, I married to first man, and he was Muslim. Very early in our marriage, he died in the car accident. I was 18 years old at that time, and we have a son, Daniel.
Yes.
He was only a few days when his father died in the car accident. And after that, my life be very badly time in Iran.
Well, you were in Iran in a very difficult period, both for U.S. and American, U.S. and Iranian relations. Of course, this was the change from the fall of the Shah of Iran.
Yes. That time I was very young that time, and when in Shah's time I was maybe teenager, and I cannot remember many things, but very shortly in the beginning, in the revelation of Khomeini, when he came to Iran, and we had a very I can remember my dad was very worried about that time, and I married exactly in that time, when
so
it
that's the
be a
time frame.
revelation.
So this is when the Ayatollah came in, and
Khomeini.
The Ayatollah Khomeini came in, and the power shift from a very Western-friendly Shah. Now we had Jimmy Carter come into office. We had the collapse of the International Bank of Credit and Commerce. Now our relationship with Iran went from a very pro-democracy, a very pro-American, very good, friendly Western partner, to a stated enemy and a focus of hatred and militantism. We became the big Satan. And the agenda is that we will cut all relations. I have a friend, Rabbi Koshkeraman, who left at that time, as many of the Jews. Now, people would be surprised. There's still Jews who live in Iran.
Yes. And I know in the city I lived, it was they lived many Jewish people in that city, and we had a neighbor, Jewish and Jew and Christian people around us.
And there was no problem.
It was not.
No, you lived in harmony.
We lived together. It was okay.
Yes, but then Ayatollah Khomeini came in.
Yes.
And Sharia, and the oppression. And you were young. You were married at 16. You had a son named Daniel. And all of a sudden, in front of your eyes, your entire world is changing.
Yes.
And your role as a woman went from being an equal, from being just treated like everybody else, to being now the definition of Islam, subjection or submission. You are now under submission. And things that you grew up with were now privileges were now being removed from you. And you were there at the beginning to see how radically things were changing.
You know, it happened too many things suddenly. It's not, we didn't have a time to thinking and understanding about that. It's happened only under one night.
Well, it kind of went very fast.
When Shah going out and Khomeini come in Iran, it's be very fast.
Yeah.
So you, I understand in the story that your son, your husband was killed. You remarried. You had a new son. You had a son, and you were forced to surrender Daniel to your husband's father.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you fought. So there was something in you early on.
I did, because that time they say I am a woman and I don't have any right to take my son, my father-in-law.
Yeah, father-in-law.
Yes, he have a.
He's the rightful father after the biological father has passed away. Goes to the father's family. So she had to fight for him, and during the time when she breastfeeds, she's allowed to keep him. But after that, they will take him away, and the only one who can give back custody is the father-in-law or the head of the family.
So 1984 comes along. You have a daughter named Roxana.
Yes.
Right next
here.
to you. And the trouble between Iran and Iraq is now escalating.
Yes.
It's a fight for who's going to head up the caliphate.
Yes.
That's what it's all about.
Exactly.
Who's going to lead the caliphate? Who's going to rule the world?
Exactly.
Exactly.
And I think people don't grasp that this is a battle for world domination. This is a battle for jihad through immigration and migration. That the more you can advance, the more countries you can consume, the more you advance the cause of Islam, the more you can then create based on percentage of increase. When you hit about 8%, you can begin to implement Sharia, no-go zones, and it's a very methodical, it's very well thought out strategy. But yet your husband, Ashgar, had you flee in 1984 across the frozen mountains into Turkey in the dead of winter.
Yes, we come together because he had a problem with the regime. He was a military and he wanted to come out from the military and military place. That time it was a war between Iran and Iraq. And it was not easy for him to come out.
Well, it was impossible. You could, there is no way out except escape.
Yes.
Or die.
Or die. And so you took Roxana. How old were you, Roxana?
I was about 3 weeks.
3 weeks old.
Yeah, 3 weeks when they took the decision, and 1 month when they started going into the mountains.
So here, mother, father, going through the frozen, and people don't know the climate of the Middle East. They think Middle East, Sahara Desert, it's hot all the time. No, it is harsh, very, very harsh climate in many places. So you had no paperwork, no passports?
No, we had nothing because that time it was impossible to take a passport or any paper to come out with
in a legal way.
In a goal, yes.
So because you didn't have any papers, you got arrested.
Yeah.
Yes.
Du blev ju arresterad för att du
inte hade papper. Because when we come out the mountain to Ararat mountain to Turkey, we had any paper and they arrested us.
So you spent a month in prison, and then you were released and you went to Istanbul.
We was 4 months.
4 months in
4
prison.
months in prison. And
4
then,
months in prison.
And then why did they let you out?
Because they didn't know who we are and why we do that. We didn't.
The smuggler had taken all papers of university papers, and so they didn't have any verification of their identity, their ID cards. Everything was taken away, and after a lot of interrogations, they got nothing because they thought these were important people trying to escape through the mountains. Of course, why would a woman leave? She must be important. Also there was this, I think it was a UN worker.
Yes, it was that a man in the prison, he promised to help us, and he said, if I come out of the prison, I come to help you. And he did. I don't know how, but he did. And we come out of the prison after 15 days when we was in the prison.
So it's still Ashgar. He's still alive and well.
Yes.
It's yourself, and now you're a year old, almost
Almost.
a
Yes.
year old, Roxana,
Yeah.
and you come out of prison. You've endured all of this, and someone cared enough to come help you, and you saved enough, and you made your way to Denmark.
Yes. Denmark was the first country when we ask about refugee, and they say yes. We moved to Denmark first together with my ex-husband.
So we're in a refugee camp, and there they send out papers to different countries. And the first country that responds is the country that you get sent to. And Denmark was the first country responding to refugees.
So when you arrived, what conditions did you find what was prepared for you in a refugee camp?
That time we take help from the Denmark, and we beginning to live together, and we take a home and everything we need. But I was not happy because my son wasn't with me. He was in Iran, and
you missed him a lot.
I miss him a lot. But after 2.5 years, he come to Denmark.
How?
With my dad.
Ah, so he wound up getting papers that
Yes.
To permit them to travel.
Yes.
Because there was no suspicion.
No, he was put into grandpa's passport as if a son or something.
Because he was granted custody under the law that this was the way your husband passed away. It goes to the grandfather. Not unusual. Kind of in the Bible, kinsman redeemer stays in the family. So you were reunited with Daniel, and your I guess at this point ex-father-in-law.
Yes.
No, it was my mom's. The father-in-law gave custody to my mother when he was on his deathbed, and my brother was then put into her dad's passport.
Okay, so it moved into from paternal to maternal.
Exactly.
Yes.
Which is still in order.
Exactly.
Still under Sharia, still very permitted to maneuver that way. So he wound up back together, reunited you with your brother that you never knew.
No. I had heard tapes of him.
And
so I knew he was out there.
And so what was that reunion like?
I was a bit jealous, I think. We made everything so beautiful for him. So I think I was a bit jealous as a kid.
So you were like it was like the prodigal son.
Yeah, well, of course.
You know, you were the daughter that was there. You went through everything. You went through all the trouble. He went through nothing. He had it easy. He was taken care of. You climbed mountains. You climbed valleys. You were freezing to death. You were thrown into
prison. But I had mom.
Every night I told her about Daniel, and he come, and I have a son. You have a brother.
Yeah.
And every night she say, told me about my brother.
Yeah.
But I think she's ready, but she wasn't.
She was just building her case. So right, you know, I can see that. So she's building a case of now. When I finally see him, he's really gonna get it because all I've done is heard about him. I asked because I wanted the ammunition. So you're now in Denmark, and you're with other Muslim refugees?
Yes, I was, but they was not very
Muslim-like.
Muslim, how can I say, alike.
Okay, so
It
no,
was
so
a
no,
light Muslim.
light Muslim. So more secular.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
It's the diet version.
That was cultural. You shared the food.
Yes, we did.
Did you pray 5 times a day?
No, I did. That time I was unhappy and I couldn't accept the God who uh, punished me and who did many things to me. I was very angry with that God. At that time, I had a visit with two people. They visit me when they come to me and speak about God. I didn't know that people, but I know it. They speak about God. I say no thanks.
Right. So you came from an environment where the only way to get to Allah was if you were a shaheed, and neither one of your husbands, well, the one died in a car accident, not a shaheed. So this promise, now you're in Shia Islam, where you have no promise whatsoever of ever, unless you have somebody in your family to become a shaheed, to petition, and then there's still no guarantee.
No. And you should also remember that in Islam they told, this is what I know from talking to Mom, is they told her during life several times, first when her husband died, and then when bad things occurred in her life, or she had problems in her marriage, women most often would tell her that, that's happening because you've sinned. God is punishing you. And one of the things that was very unique in Mom's case was that she said, I know that he can punish me, and now I'm okay with that because I'm an adult. But when my son is 10 days old and loses his father, he hasn't sinned. What has he done? Yelled too much? And yet God punishes him as much as he punishes me. So that God, I don't want him. How can a God punish you?
See, this is the difference between Allah and the God of Israel.
It's a very different between Allah and Jesus. That time I didn't know, but now I can witness. I can tell everybody, don't accept. If somebody say it's the same God, it's not the same God. It's different God. Allah, it's not real God, but Jesus is the God.
Yes. We're going to take a break, but when you read the Bible, you read about Satan, who had a plan to replace God.
Yes. Yeah.
And I often think, and it's just a passing thought, that the name Allah is a substitute name for Satan, because it's about death. It's about forcing you to believe this way, and it's not a message of love. It's the opposite message. The Bible teaches love your neighbor. The Quran and the Hadith teach to kill the infidel if he does not accept. So it's almost created as opposites, which is what Satan is, good and evil. And I've studied this, and I've read the Quran, and I've studied the Hadith, and I look at the Sunnahs, and I see that even the cry, Allahu Akbar, Allah is greater, Not Allah is great, but greater. It's always a comparison. It's always comparing to. It never has its own identity. It always compares itself to somebody or somebody else. It doesn't create a whole new identity. Like the Bible, you have a new identity in Christ, and it's giving of life, and it's allowing you to love your neighbor, not kill your neighbor. And if your neighbor doesn't believe what you believe, love him more. And maybe when you love him more, he'll come to believe what you believe. But that is not the message of Muhammad, and that is not the message of Allah. That is the complete opposite, is that if they don't accept, cut off their head. All right? We're going to take a short break. We are talking with Annahita Parsan, author of the book Stranger No More. It is a story of her journey of escaping from Iran through the frozen mountains of the winter of Turkey, of being imprisoned, and finally being coming a guest at a refugee camp in Denmark, and making her way in Scandinavia, where she now, today, is an ordained minister in Sweden, living with her daughter, Roxana, and her family, and has a thriving ministry, and is preaching the gospel to anyone, Muslim, Hindu, Jew, regardless, doesn't matter, does not matter, for God so loved the world. And this journey from darkness into the pure light. And Roxana, you are eloquent in, how many languages do you speak?
I don't know, 3 or 4.
Oh, maybe more. So you have English, Farsi.
English, Farsi, Swedish, Danish, if I dust it off. Yeah. And then you understand German, don't speak it.
Right, but you understand it because of its Germanic origin.
Exactly.
Right. And you minister alongside with your mother.
Yes. And today I'm actually working in voluntarily working, but in the church as a chairman of the church. So
an incredible story, an incredible journey of hope, not hopelessness. And Stranger No More, is that a reference to God? You're a stranger no more to God?
To God.
You now have your identity in Christ.
I find my identity.
Yes, it wasn't.
I'm not a stranger to God, and He's not a stranger for me.
Right. And it doesn't matter your papers from Iran. Okay?
No.
Your papers are from heaven.
Yes.
The Lamb's Book of Life. Those are your credentials.
My home country is heaven.
There you go.
Not anywhere.
We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Annahita Parsan and her wonderful daughter, Roxana, author of Stranger No More. We'll be right back. Shalom. I'm the Reverend Rabbi Eric Walker, Executive Director of Igniting a Nation and host of the daily TV program Revealing the Truth, seen live every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central Standard Time at www.ianbn.com, and then replayed throughout the day and night via our website. All of our segments can be seen on the Igniting a Nation YouTube channel. Since our launch in January of this year, we've expanded our global reach to over 54 countries with a social media following of over 125,000. Our commitment is to bring you the most in-depth interviews with authors, subject matter experts, and thought leaders from around the world. We have interviewed guests from Israel, Brazil, England, India, and all across North America. All of our authors are featured on the Books and Media page on our website, www.ianbn.com. There you can find a direct link to the book you want to order, and we receive a small commission directly from Amazon. There is no cost to you for this service. In addition to our daily teachings and interviews, we make available to you the archive of all of the interviews on our YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram channels. Our live program is available from our homepage, and there is never a charge to you for any of this access. We made the decision long ago that we would remain a commercial-free resource that would not be influenced by any pressure from any outside company. There are only two ways that we are able to continue to operate this ministry and provide you with the only live 4-hour daily Christian television talk show program. The first is through your support and tax-deductible contributions to Igniting a Nation. These can be made directly through the donate button on the website or sent through the mail to Igniting a Nation, 2700 Corporate Drive, Suite 120, Birmingham, Alabama, 35242. The other way we support the program is by offering you a unique opportunity to have access to over 10 years worth of teachings on a subscription basis. The teaching archives contains all of my prior sermons, Torah studies, prophecy in the news videos, and much more for the low subscription price of $5 per month. This subscription grants you unlimited access to over 800 hours of content not available elsewhere and is updated weekly with the most current prophecy classes. In addition to 20 hours of original TV programming each weekday, we invite you to join us live every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday evenings for our Prophecy in the News classes. The times and locations are listed on our events page on the website www.ianbn.com. Every day, you and I are faced with the challenge of where we will go to hear the truth. We are committed to bring you the only program of its kind that covers the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. We cannot do this without your support. Since we launched on January 5th, 2017, we have aired over 300 individual teachings, interviews, and commentaries not available anywhere else. We are now working side by side with almost every major Christian publishing house to bring you the most in-depth feature interviews possible. Our 1-hour features address every subject that affects the believer's life. We are hearing of salvations from the Middle East, Africa, and all across the United States. Lives are being changed every day, and we have only just begun. Our mission is to become your trusted resource and grant you access to the people, tools, and information you need to grow in your relationship with the Lord. You can help us by liking us on social media and through your financial support. We know you have many choices in who you support, but we are prayerfully asking you to consider helping us keep revealing the truth, true to our calling, to cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth like no other program available. Donate today and help us bring the message to the four corners of the earth. Visit www.ianbn.com and donate, buy a book, or subscribe to our teaching archives. Without you, we do not exist. Shalom and welcome back to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, the Reverend Rabbi Eric Walker, and we're talking with Annahita Parsan, author of Stranger No More, and by her side is her lovely daughter, Roxana, who is helping interpret with her, and both of them serve in a ministry in Sweden, where they are preaching the gospel to anyone who will hear. And they tell an amazing story in this book of their journey from Iran across the frozen mountains of Turkey, imprisoned in Turkey, their trip to Istanbul, refugee camp in Denmark, and finally settling in Sweden, where they have a thriving ministry. So let's go from Denmark. You're in a refugee center where they provide you housing, food, and clothing, and this is a Christian organization that has brought you. Is that correct?
No.
No, it was just government-based.
Government-based. So this was just part of the UNESCO, or
Exactly.
Okay, part of the International Refugee Program.
Yeah.
So you had to apply for refugee status, fill out the United Nations paperwork,
Yes.
and you were selected.
Exactly.
So help me with that process. So you're notified. You're in Denmark. I'm sorry. Yes, you're in Denmark. No, you're in Turkey.
We're in Turkey.
Yeah,
And after
you
we come to,
make application and you get
Yeah.
accepted. And does someone come get you, or they send you papers, or how does that work?
from Turkish to Denmark, or we from government or from refugee center in Turkish, we take a paper and ticket. We come to Denmark, and in Denmark they waiting for us. It was in the airport. They waiting for us, and that people was very kind that time.
Yeah.
I remember the first night when we come home, and they show our home and our place. Roxana was very a little. So
yeah, they showed up with flowers at the airport, and they had previously done everything. So they had schooling for mom, and then kindergarten for me, and first in the refugee camp until they could find us a more place to stay.
Yes. It was a big house. We was 3 family in the house, 3% family.
And everybody speak Farsi, or
Yes.
Everybody spoke Farsi in the house.
Yes,
all came from Middle Eastern Arab speaking homes. So you are now in Denmark, and how do you make your way to Sweden? What happens? Who do you meet? What opens the door and changes your life?
We come to Denmark 85. September 85 we come to Denmark, but it's happened too much between me and my ex-husband, because he abused me and abused my child.
He was violent.
Violent,
yeah.
Yes. And that time I pray, but it's only I kiss the Bible and I pray, Jesus, if you can help me, please. And I ask him about help. I never read the Bible. I never open the book. I never going to the church, but only ask him about my problem. And it's happened many times. And many times I take an answer, and I be happy. But first years I say, maybe it was people helped me, maybe it was me.
Maybe it was coincidence.
Maybe some, like that. It was not exactly know it. It's God, because that God, I know it. We asked him many times, but never answered us. It was very excited when I asked him something and I take it.
But the way you got the Bible, somebody came to visit you and they brought you a Bible. And they wanted to talk to you about Jesus, but you weren't very happy about that.
No, she slammed the door.
It was. I think it's enough for me about God and religion. It's I want to be free from the religion, and after that.
Yeah. But what happened was they gave her the Bible, and you're taught some things, at least in Iran, is even though you don't believe in the Bible or Buddhism or whatever, if they give you something that's holy for someone else, you can't throw it in the trash.
Yes. See, the same laws in Israel, that anything that has the name of God or anything that's holy, that it's it has to be treated.
Even though you don't believe in it, so she kept it.
Right. So you don't throw it to the ground, you don't trash it, you don't disrespect it, because if there's even a part of God in it, then you've defiled God. So it's kind of like a roll of the dice. Why take the chance?
Exactly.
All right. So now you have a Bible in your home. Do you have a copy of the Quran?
Did you have the Quran?
No, I didn't have anything of Islam in my home, because when I come from Iran, we didn't have anything, only my jean trousers and the blouse, and nothing else. We didn't have anything. And when we come, we have a ID code, some paper, and our smuggler, he take from us our money and paper. So I didn't have anything.
But yet, in your unhappiness, you take this book and you put your lips to it and say, if you're real.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, you know, if you're real, I'm miserable. If you're real, help me. And so this was part of your journey to faith, was to take this Bible.
I take it my Bible, kiss my Bible, and ask Jesus, please help me. I need the help. And I can understand that time I had a very badly time, and I was shaking and very upset. And I asked him, please help me, help me. And I found the answer many times.
And it's worth noting that the times that my mother, you can read it in a book, and I recommend people to actually read it and buy it, is that she did only ask when it was very necessary, because she didn't want to disrespect and misuse the book, and yet it was, when she did it, it was a matter of life and death, because that was how bad the situation with my father was.
So in 1989, things got pretty bad.
Yeah.
So bad that you tried to take your own life.
Yes, because he told me you have a two-way. One way to live with me, another way you die. And I take the other way. I think it's other way is best. It's better for me.
And so, what happened?
I take a pill, and I cannot remember anything. I heard about that after, because Daniel told me I was very sick, and he called the doctor, and doctor come on the home and called the ambulance, and they take me to hospital. And in hospital, I cannot really remember first or other night in hospital. I was really bad, very bad.
So you had taken a lethal overdose of medicine.
Yeah.
You should have died.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you didn't die.
No. And I was very angry. Why death don't like me? Why God don't like me? Why death don't like me? What happened? What is with me?
Yeah.
And
so, where did you find your answer?
No, after many years, I didn't hurt anything. I was unhappy. When I come home after hospital, in hospital I take a visit coach from the social working, and they told me they can help me, and if I need the help, they can help me, and I can call that people. I was not sure, but after 10 days after hospital, I called that people, and they say it's ready and you can come out and you can go to the address I take it.
So you moved to Sweden?
Yeah.
Not
directly. We moved to women's shelters, safe houses, different places. But my father always managed to find us and hunt us down, and try to drive my mom off a bridge. And well, it was a chase hunt, and then he set a bounty on our heads. And then they moved us to Sweden because it wasn't safe enough to be in Denmark with him.
And so how did you ultimately come to faith? Because you came to faith in Sweden. You heard the gospel, you accepted the gospel, you were baptized, and you heard the call of God. The one that you said didn't like you enough to let you come to him in death. He didn't like you enough because he wanted to punish you in life. He wanted to take your son from you. He wanted to take everything from you. He was always punishing. You weren't good enough to live. You weren't good enough to die. You were in despair.
So I'll just take a really quick turn here. We came to Sweden. Everything was fine. We got a new identity. So we lived our own lives. But my mom was so unhappy because she missed her family. It was just us. So after 11 years, she decided, I want to go back. And also her grandmother, my great-grandmother, had played a vital role in her life. And she was sick. And she knew that this is the last time I may meet her, the woman that raised me practically. So me and my mom, she said, 3 weeks. This is going to go 3 weeks. We're going to Iran and we're going to come back. And look, we got our passports really fast. And Sweden said, oh, this doesn't feel safe. And my mom said, well, this looks legit. And we went during Christmas in 1991? 94.
94.
So I was 10. And as soon as the plane landed, we got off at the airport, passport control, and they caught us. Because there was something in the passport indicating that we were refugees. And they took my mom into interrogation for about a good 6, 8, 10 hours. Me alone in an airport, just my mom paid some dude to babysit me. And after that, she was in house arrest 3 months in Tehran, going back and forth to the county office. And I was in Isfahan with my grandparents these 3 months. And then she was sentenced. She got her court day set, and you can tell the rest about the court and judge.
In the court, that the judge say, you must be in the jail 1 year, and you must to pay the money for you did wrong, because you come out of Iran without a passport, and your passport was not really, it was illegal.
Yeah.
In my heart, I pray and I ask Jesus, please help me. That time, it's be a last time. I ask you something, please help me. If I be free, I come back to Sweden and I be Christian. I don't know, I try and I say 100 time I can say, Jesus, please help me, Jesus, help me. I don't know how many times I told and I say, but that the judge asked me, oh, why you cry? And he say, I have a children, I am alone, and how can I sit and be in the jail? He say, can you be happy if I take a gun jail? I think it's impossible, but I say yes. And he say, you are free, you can go. Don't forget to send me invited for Sweden. Yeah, of course, sure. I send to you.
Yeah, of course.
And I come out, and 2 days after we fly to back to Sweden, and we're going to church, and I say, Jesus, I'm now a Christian. I think it's been like that.
Yeah. So there was only 1 day left of our ticket and also our 3 months visa. So we actually got out, and day after we woke up in Sweden, my mom woke me and my brother up and said, we're going to church. And then I remember I was on her left side and my brother was on the right side. And she lighted candles. She said, light candles. And so we did. And then she turned to us and she said, you know what? We're Christians now. And we thought, yeah, okay, great. It was good. But it took a couple of years, like,
you understand,
3-4 years
Christian.
till the real salvation
Right.
came and baptism.
So this is such an amazing story for so many reasons. God's supernatural provision, his hand of protection, surviving with a 3-week-old baby.
In 1 month.
1-month-old baby in the Turkish winter with nothing but the clothes on your back.
Yeah.
And survive that and had the strength to fight through even to the point of suicide.
Yeah.
That God had a plan for you. Now you know it was not that you were so bad. It was because he had a plan for you and he had a way to use you. Now, since you've come to faith, you have led hundreds of people to the Lord.
Yeah.
Yes.
Muslims.
Yeah.
Atheists.
I cannot say how many because I never could.
She can't count them, all of them.
But I know every time people come to church now, and I speak about Jesus, and I pray for that people, and they come to faith.
We have 4 times four is the minimum times a year. We have baptism in our church, where we educate them during the months in between.
Right.
We have, it's amazing, it's 20, 30 people a time, every time that gets baptized. And for Sweden, that's just amazing.
That is amazing. That is
Yeah.
amazing. It is such a joy and honor and a privilege to meet you both.
You too.
We are talking and have been talking with Annahita Parsan and her daughter Roxanne. Stranger No More, a Muslim refugee story of harrowing escape, miraculous rescue, and the quiet call of Jesus. We read in the Western papers about Muslim immigration and migration to Sweden, and guess what? I'm not worried anymore because the welcome wagon is waiting for them. That when they come from Syria, when they come from Yemen, when they come from Muslim countries, they're coming to Sweden to meet by divine appointment Annahita Parsan, so that they can meet the Jesus that will bring life to them. And I'm no longer concerned the way I used to be concerned about this migration and immigration to Sweden and Scandinavia of ISIS and Muslim, Shia and Sunni coming because you're there waiting for them to share the gospel with them. You bring me comfort in my knowledge and understanding now, and I thank you both for what you're doing there.
I thank you, and I thank you, thanks God for everything he did for me and my people and here.
Amen and amen. We've been talking with Annahita Parsan, Stranger No More. You can find it on our website, ignitinganation.com. Read this story for yourself. It'll bring tears to your eyes and joy to your heart that God is still on the throne. He's still in the prayer answering business, and he's saving Muslims in Sweden.
Yeah, exactly.
Even now.
Yeah.
Even now.
Amen.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to meet you. Thank you. God bless you. And that brings us to an end our live broadcast day, but that doesn't mean we go off the air. We broadcast 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can watch this episode and all the other episodes all day long, and then catch it on our YouTube channel, catch it on Twitter, Instagram, and on WND TV. So lots of ways to hear this interview, lots of ways to meet these people. Follow them online, become friends with them on the web, and get the book Stranger No More, Annahita Parsan. God bless you, both of you. We're going to now sign off for today. We'll be back in the studio tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Central Time. And until we see you right back here, we bid you shalom.